All right, welcome back, everyone. We're diving into some really fascinating stuff today. Genesis chapter 13.
Yeah.
Big moment in the story of Abram, who later becomes Abraham.
That's right, yeah.
So we're going to be looking at excerpts from Genesis 13 and really kind of picking apart this idea of family dynamics,
Okay.
scarcity of resources,
Yeah.
and a promise from God with pretty big implications. So just imagine for a second, right? You're sharing not just like a house or an apartment with your extended family. You're sharing a whole country
Right.
with your family and all their animals and all their stuff.
Yeah.
That's basically what Abram and his nephew Lot are dealing with, right here in Genesis 13.
It's a situation that, most of us probably can't relate to directly today.
Yeah.
But it really shows us, like, how important livestock were in the ancient world. Like, when Abram comes back to Canaan from Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
and the text says he's loaded with livestock, silver and gold.
Right.
And that's not just about personal wealth. It's about power. It's about influence. Yeah.
Livestock were the backbone
Yeah.
of the economy.
It's like livestock were the ancient version of, like, money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like currency.
Yeah, yeah.
So Abram's herds are overflowing. He's a big deal. He's got respect, alliances, but this abundance, it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Right, right.
The land just can't handle all these animals.
Right.
And this scarcity of resources, this wasn't a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Fertile land and water, those were constantly fought over in the ancient world.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes sense that even families would come into conflict over this.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we see, right?
That's right.
Things start getting tense, but it's interesting. It's not Abram and Lot like going head to head.
Right, they're right.
It's their herdsmen.
Yeah.
It's like, is it like, I don't know, like, is it like taboo to actually fight with your family directly or something? Like, is that?
That's a good question. I mean, maybe directly confronting your family was just not done.
Yeah. So the conflict plays out through their employees.
Okay.
It says a lot about how societies worked, even back then. Power, delegation.
It's almost like, I've definitely seen some workplace drama where it's like the same kind of thing is happening.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
It's like it's all kind of bubbling under the surface. Yeah. So, all right, how does this conflict actually get resolved? Because Abram, he does something pretty unexpected.
He does. Abram shows, like, incredible wisdom,
Yeah.
He's selfless. He actually lets Lot choose the land first.
Okay.
Think about it. He could have just said, hey, I'm older, I'm wealthier, I get what I want.
Yeah.
But instead, he puts family first.
Right.
That's not something you see very often in these old stories where it's usually all about power and who's on top.
It's a pretty big moment for Abram. It really reveals a lot about his character. He's choosing peace and unity over his own gain.
Right.
So Lot's got this decision to make. He's got a pretty tempting choice in front of him.
He does. He goes for the Jordan Plain, super fertile. The text describes it as, like, the garden of the Lord.
Wow.
Sounds nice, right?
Yeah.
But there's this little detail. The text mentions Sodom and Gomorrah before they were destroyed. It makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
What seems great at first might not be so great after all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A little foreshadowing, maybe.
Yeah.
A little bit of, all the glitters is not gold.
Yeah.
So Lot goes off to his new land, and God speaks directly to Abram. And this is where the story, it totally changes.
It really does. God promises Abram the whole land, as far as he can see.
Wow.
And descendants, like, you can't even count them.
So it's not just about the land, right?
No, it's not just inheritance.
Yeah.
It's a covenant.
Yeah.
It's a binding agreement between God and Abram. And in the ancient world, covenants were a big deal. They meant something. They created obligations.
Right.
Both sides had to hold up their end of the deal.
So this is about establishing something much bigger.
Exactly. It's about legacy. It's about a chosen people connected to a specific place.
Okay, so Abram's been given this incredible promise. What does he do?
He shows he accepts it.
Okay.
He shows he's committed. He moves to Hebron and he builds an altar.
Oh, okay.
Which might seem simple, but it's a big deal.
Right.
Altars were at the heart of worship back then. They were like this connection point between people and God.
Okay, so he's acknowledging God's promise.
Right.
And really kind of solidifying his part of the covenant.
Exactly. So we started with this family squabble over grazing land.
Right, right.
And we ended up with this promise that changes everything.
It's pretty incredible how something that starts out, as like a resource problem ends up, changing the course of history.
It shows how even ordinary stuff can have huge consequences.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about the choices we make.
Right.
Are we in it for ourselves, or are we trying to find harmony even when things are tough?
Well, what really struck you about Abram's response? Like, what stands out to you? Would you have made the same choices that he made? I mean, Genesis 13, it reminds us that even in the middle of family drama and, all the worries of the world, there could be this bigger purpose that gets revealed, often when we least expect it. It makes you think about ambition, contentment, and the power of faith. A lot to chew on there.
Yeah.
Until next time.
See